but I'm going to allow our very own Mark Borbas, who heads up our talent development side of our business. You've all heard me talk many times now about how our group has grown over this past year. And not only do we have leading media brands with the Northern Miner, mining.com, and Canadian Mining Journal, we also have leading data brands with CostMine, Mining Intelligence, and leading talent development brands, which Mark heads up, which is CareerMine and EduMine. So Mark is the VP of Talent Solutions for our Northern Miner Group. He is responsible for the company's online education and hiring solutions. He's a committed lifelong learner himself. He's a voracious reader. He's had over 20 years of experience in bringing new products to the market and running high potential teams. He joins us from the west coast of Canada. Now he's off on Salt Spring Island, so he'll let us know that hopefully he hasn't had any floods or things of that nature there. Mark has 2 kids and he entertains himself when he's not working diligently for our group by renovating and writing. Mark, how is the family? How is everything on Salt Spring Islands? Have you been able to weather the literal storm?
Yeah, we've been pretty good. I discovered one roof leak. That was our only casualty. So I was up there yesterday just before the light gave out for the rest of the day. We had 2 sort of nice, warm, dry days. So I got up there with the roofing tar and patched it all up, and so far so good.
Wow, look at you.
It's behind me, so we're in good shape.
Okay. We are, and pretty impressive that you're up there with the tar. You're not just the everyday weekend warrior. That's kind of next level stuff. Well done. Well done. Listen, Mark, I will pass it over to you to introduce your panelists. This is What If Mining Was Cool? Maybe some people say it already is cool, but regardless, we're gonna tackle this one and have a bit of fun with it. Over to you, Mark.
Great, thanks, Anthony. Yeah, no, this is a really neat topic, and when we all met up last week to have a chat about this, it was really interesting. We had some real diverse perspectives on it. So I think the plan for today is we want to explore the benefits and the opportunities of working in the mining industry and try to dig into some of those non-obvious ones, or those ones that you discover over time. And I have the good fortune of having 3 panelists here who are going to talk a little bit about why each of them got into mining, why they stayed in it, and in a couple of cases why they left and then came back as well. So I think kind of got a good spate of folks here. If you guys want to turn on your video, you're welcome to. I'll start by introducing Dr. Erin Babicki. She's the Associate Professor of Mineral Processing. Hi there, Erin. In the Department of Chemicals and Materials Engineering at the University of Alberta. And her research interests include microwave applications in mineral processing, comminution, bioreagent development, the rheology, of complex mineral slurries, and value recovery from waste materials, which is definitely a growing area. I had a chuckle when I looked at the microwave application because I thought, does my kids actually microwaving dirt? Does that count? Is that something you cover? So maybe we can get into that later. She's worked as a researcher and a plant metallurgist for Vale, as a process technology development engineer for Intel, and most recently was assistant professor at University of Toronto. So lots of interesting experience that she brings to bear today. She's commercializing microwave technology for the mining industry with Sepro Mineral Systems, and is also a founding director of Aurora Hydrogen, a startup developing technology for emissions-free hydrogen production. So welcome, Erin, and I think you'll bring a really neat perspective to the panel. So thank you for joining. Next up is Siri. Siri has spent over 25 years working on major capital projects around the world in the natural resource and infrastructure industries. During the course of her career, she's developed a particular expertise in sustainability and ESG and stakeholder engagement and governance, 2 really critical topics these days, and also a focus on project management and supply chain, which everyone always loves to talk about, and especially in today's environment is becoming that much more critical. She runs Bridge, which is a boutique consultancy that provides strategy services, non-quantitative strategy services. And she advises her clients on ESG and risk management and how to interface, not interfere, that would be terrible, with commercial and supply chain issues. Prior to running her own business, she worked with BHP Canada as head of project services. She's a director of PDAC, co-chair of the Sustainability and Lands and Regulation Committees, and is a member of the Council of PGO, as well as a director of 2 exploration mining companies. And she received the 2019 Distinguished Lecturer Award for CSR from the Canadian Institute of Mining. So again, a really diverse background and interesting experience that Siri will bring to the conversation. Thanks for joining us. And last is Rob McEwen. So Rob is the chairman and chief owner of McEwen Mining. I don't know where he got that name from. Maybe we can ask him more. Which has 4 producing mines located in Nevada, Ontario, Mexico, and Argentina. Hi, Rob. And Rob's been associated with the gold industry all of his career. I'm sure he's a familiar name to a lot of people on today's discussion. His first 18 years in the investment industry, and since 1990 is the CEO of several gold mining companies. So he's the founder of Gold Corp. He took that company from a market cap of 50 million to over 8 billion. At McEwen Mining, he owns 18% of the company and takes a salary of $1 a year. The cost of his investment in McEwen and McEwen Copper exceeds 200 million at this point. He and his wife Cheryl have donated over 60 million to encourage excellence and innovation in healthcare and education. And I know that's one of the themes that Rob and I spoke about when we spoke last week, was about the role of the mining industry from a philanthropic perspective. So I hope that will come up in the discussion. He was awarded the Order of Canada in 2007, Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee Award in 2013. We heard how he was inducted into the Mining Hall of Fame, and he also has honorary doctorate of law degrees from York and Western University. And if that wasn't enough, he's also a member of the Dean's Advisory Board at the Schulich School of Business, the X Prize Foundation, the Vision Circle, and the Board of Trustees, a member of the CEO organization and the World Presidents Organization. And he serves, of course, on the advisory board of the McEwen School of Architecture. And so I think this is a great panel to pull together because everyone has different perspectives, but also I think the thread that I hope you heard through all those bios is a real commitment to the industry from a bunch of different dimensions. And so that makes them a really interesting and I know engaging panel for today's discussion. So I'm going to start off, and the first question, well, I'll pass to you first, Erin, and then we'll kind of work it through everybody. But I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of working in the mining industry from your standpoint. You know, what are they and which ones have meant the most to you? Let's try to make this personal if we can.
Just gonna make sure I unmute myself before I start talking. So for me, I mean, for those that don't know, I'm a pretty ardent environmentalist, which some people may not think jives with working in the mining industry, but to me, that's why I'm here. So I view working in mining as an opportunity to make a really big difference in the world. We have so many challenges right now in mining, but in the world generally. I mean, how do we extract critical metals more efficiently? How do we use less water and energy? How do we create less impact on the environment? And in my own career, at least I think, I've been able to make a big difference, both on site in operations and more broadly through the development of new technology. So I think right now, at the point that we are at in time, that the opportunity to make a difference is only getting larger as we move towards decarbonization and electrification, of course. I mean, how are we going to extract all the copper, all the nickel, all the other critical materials that are required, and to do it in a sustainable fashion? And you know, I don't think we have all the answers right now. And so that's an exciting problem to work on. For me, every day is a new day. I get up excited to work on it. I've also really personally enjoyed getting to work with people from all walks of life. So we talk about, interacting with Indigenous communities, in the interview before this about people in the Mining Hall of Fame. I've had the privilege of working in and living in Indigenous communities and learning about other ways of, other perspectives of looking at the world. I've got to visit places that I would never otherwise have got to visit, to explore the tundra, and it's just been such a privilege.
That's great. Thank you. That's a really good starting point. Siri, what about from your perspective, given your time in the industry, what would you advance?
I think to a segue from Erin is that there's nothing like the mining industry that ripples through everything we do and that challenges and drags us into wanting to build new, creative, different things. So very much like Erin and Rob, love mining. I mean, I come from an oil and gas background, so right now probably one of the most hated industries, and yet understanding the difference that not hydrocarbons, but the metals, the minerals make is just incredible. And I was trying to think of something funky, and so I thought, well, if I asked Siri if mining was cool, and I did, by the way. So the Siri on your iPhone, she answered Minecraft. So for any of you who have ever, but it's funny, but not, because when you look at Minecraft and you look at where you start and how you build, mining is part of that, but it is part of an ecosystem. It is not the only part, but it is a part that contributes to building. So maybe not cities, but it helps you when you work through the full value chain from the pits to the product, or from the concept all the way to the consumer. Think of all the different stages where ore is part of that process, and that we've learned how to do things more funky, better, from using drones to using blockchain. Erin, one of your PhD students, just got an incredible paper completed. I had to look up on Google what it was. I mean, you talk about every single aspect of mining that's pushing the envelope. How can it be safer? So, you have electric vehicles, but it's not just that they're safer, or underground electric. It's that you can manage them sitting in Toronto, Vancouver, wherever, but you're still working in either an underground or an open. There's nothing else like it in the world. And I defy or dare anybody to find any other industry that has literally been cool like that has not stood still, that has not tolerated just being complacent, and has really sought to find solutions in difficult circumstances. So through COVID, when it's had a bad reputation, and it's done things bad, wrong, but has also sought to make differences. So look at how we manage tailings today. And Rob is just going, I can talk. So that for me, mining is just, it's funky. It's if you think Tesla's funky or SpaceX is funky, try building a Tesla or SpaceX without any of the minerals or the metals. So
yeah, no, that's good. I love that notion of touching everything, and I think we'll come back to that as we go through a couple of the other pieces we want to get through as well. Rob, over to you. What are the benefits? What has meant the most to you over your career? I think you're on mute, Rob. There we go.
Trying to cut out background noise. I started in the investment industry and focused on gold shares. And during the course of my time in the investment industry, I met a number of prospectors, promoters, and they demonstrated to me that there's a lot more to be found in the earth. Mother Nature is very bountiful, and we've just scratched the surface. And so I looked at one fellow I got to know quite well. I watched him make a fortune, then lose it, make another fortune, lose it, made a third fortune, and he kept it. And I decided to jump out of the investment industry into the mining industry and see if I could get into the jet stream that he was in. And Mother Nature was very kind to me. I see an industry that has been forgotten by most of modern society, forgotten its importance and its what it provides, modern civilization. But it also means there's enormous opportunity there because the competition is not great. If you graduate from school and you're going, well, I want to be an investment banker, or I want to be a crypto miner, there's a lot of people jumping into that field. There's not a lot of people jumping into mining. And I think if you want to shape the future, decarbonize the world, mining industry is a great place to start.
That's great. Thanks, Rob. And it's funny, I was I had a moment when I was up, but you guys heard me up on the roof yesterday, where I was thankful to the oil and gas industry because, you know, it was a fancy name on the product, but basically I was smearing bitumen all over the roof in the hopes that it would keep the water out. So I was very thankful to the bottom of a barrel of crude oil for helping me out yesterday. Next, let's kind of shift directions a little bit. You know, one of the things we talked about is how working for a mining company is getting more similar to working for other organizations. You know, Siri mentioned the notion of you can be in Toronto or Vancouver managing some of these fleets, and there's capabilities we didn't have 10 years ago as remote work and automation is becoming more prevalent. But there's still a difference in working for a mining company. How do we set expectations appropriately with new entrants as to what does this actually look like today? You know, how do we paint that picture? And Rob, I'm going to call on you first on this one. How do you paint that picture?
Well, the mining industry has lagged behind in many ways. And I'd say you have to make mining appear more like a number of other industries. Maybe we could aspire to look like a high-tech business, and we're clean and we're efficient, brightly lit. But it also, we're going through this massive change. We've been around for a very long time, the mining industry. And so there's a great deal of inertia. I guess if you're a disruptive individual, you might have fun in the mining industry, meet with some frustrations, but here is where you're going to make giant changes. So, and whether your background is computer science or it's environmental or it's metallurgy, I think we have to look broadly across all the industries and look for technologies that can apply to our industry. And, you know, whether it's bioleaching or microwave, and I remember we experimented with that in New Brunswick on a limestone property we had. And thermal fragmentation, but there's all sorts of science that can be brought to the industry, all sorts of math that can be brought to the industry, all sorts of passion. And that's where I see the changes coming.
Erin, what about you looking at this both as a practitioner, but also as an academic? You know, how do you set expectations? How do you manage that with your students and with folks that you're mentoring?
Well, I'm also going to kind of answer this like Rob a little bit and sort of take it a little bit sideways. I think, you know, for me, I'm not sure it's about setting expectations, but about creating a diverse array of work opportunities to attract this diverse talent pool, right? We talk a lot about innovation and we need diversity to really drive innovation, and to attract an innovative base of really smart people, we need to have a variety of ways to offer work. So there's still going to be, you know, we're always going to need people on site, I think, you know, at least to monitor the drones and whatnot's going on. But I think we're still going to need people and there are people that want to do that. I have really good friends. My husband, for example, went into mining so that he could be on site and be out in the field. There's always going to be people that want to do that, but there's also going to be people that, you know, fundamentally can't be part of the mining industry. Maybe they have some mobility challenges. Maybe they are, you know, a mother of 5 young children and they can't be on a remote mine site all the time. I think we need to offer opportunities to people that are varied so we can attract this variety of people. And to Rob's point, whether it's, you know, robotics or biology or, you know, lawyers, investors, mechanical engineers, artists, we need to attract a variety of different people. And I think today we've shown through COVID that we can work in you know, remote, we can work in person, we can work hybrid. And I think it's actually up to the industry to step up and make sure that we're offering these types of opportunities and making people aware that these types of opportunities exist so that we can pull in this diverse talent pool to get where we need to go today.
Okay. No, I think that notion of diversity and diverse range of accepting not only where people are at, but what we can offer is really a neat concept. Siri, what about from your standpoint?
So I think I'm going to challenge Rob a bit on this, and where I disagree with him is that we've been complacent or we haven't. I think what we really need to do is kick our industry in the butt and change our messaging. You know, people are asking on the chats, and I agree, you know, what do you do with the young kids who've got degrees and entering into the market? And I'll give you a better story than that. Two New Year's Eves ago, I was with my nephew in California. My family, part of my family lives in Santa Monica. He's a mining engineer. Anyway, people are talking and we're chatting, and they ask him what he does. And he said, oh, I'm an engineer. So everybody thought that was great. And what do you do? And he wouldn't tell anybody. So this is a 28-year-old kid that he was in mining. So I brought it up, and I got kicked in the ankles, or the ankle. And I said, and so anyway, he said, oh, anti-Syrian, but he wasn't proud. And afterwards I said, why aren't you proud? He said, well, nobody likes us, but we don't tell people what we do. People see either the vision of the old white guy with the beard, the donkey, and the pig. Sorry, guys. Or they'll see the artisanal miners, or they'll see the violence, or they'll see the cyanide, but they don't see all the great things, and they don't because we don't talk about it. So we're all here around our screens talking to all of us who have drunk the Kool-Aid. We know we're good. We know we do good things. This conversation needs to zoom out. It needs to talk through. And why are we doing mining engineering degrees and not including environment degrees? Or biochemical engine, like this, and we teach, whether it's mining or law or finance today, the same way, at least when I went to law school, which was way too long ago. We've got iPhones or smartphones, we're talking to each other on a screen this thick, but we're still teaching science and other fields the same way we did 30 years ago. When there's so much more we could bring together, multi-disciplines, multi-functions. And so that the kids can get excited and understand that when they're playing a game on whatever screen they're using, if there wasn't any mining, they wouldn't be playing anything. So it is up to us, and I challenge all of you around this screen and whoever's participating to you know, look at Erin, look at what she's teaching, look what she's putting out there, look at what Rob has achieved. Those are the good stories. We know the bad stories, and we have to work with the media. We have to get it out there. So the Northern Miner, but not just the mining industry, the whole world, because there won't be, coming out of COP26, low carbon footprints without any of us doing our jobs. Let us be clear, there won't. You cannot have renewable energy without all of the yums and gold and nickel and cobalt and whatever. So it's on us, guys, to tell the story and to be positive about what we can bring to the next 50 generations.
I'm actually going to borrow that as a segue, Siri, and skip to the fourth question that we talked a little bit about before, which is, you know, mining is a critical component of the supply chain of tomorrow. We produce the building blocks for a low carbon existence, you know, whether it's smart grids, electric vehicles, wind turbines, they all include a phenomenal number of minerals and very specialty ones in some cases. So I think Siri started us down this path of how do we shift public perception to really look at these and recognize these. And Rob, I'm going to pick on you first. How do you shift that view to really look forward, not backwards?
I think we need the public to start doing math. We have to determine,
okay,
you know, how many EVs, wind turbines, solar cells, and other sources of renewable energy does the world need to reduce the greenhouse gases and the world temperature by 1.5 degrees? And then you have to calculate how much metal is going to be used to achieve that end. And I believe with the growing population of the world, the demand is going to far exceed supply. But we have to create that link that we're not going to get there without a lot of metal and a lot of thought. I mean, I just saw something about our own government saying that the promises they've made in response to COVID, that we are not going to have a balanced budget before 2070, almost 50 years from now. Well, no one in Ottawa's or any of the provincial capitals is doing any of the math. None of the, and we're not talking about the role of population in the warming of the earth. We were what, 1.8 billion people at the beginning of the 1900s? Now we're pushing 8 billion, and they're talking over 10. So urbanization is going to continue. We're still going to be using mines. We just have to learn to do the mines in a way that people are more comfortable with. But it's, to me, this is, there's a public perception, and I think Siri mentioned it as well, that the shows on TV about mining are just the guys up in Alaska ripping apart the sides of hills, and that just reinforces the image of the person with a donkey and a pickaxe, or some of the sites in the middle of the Amazon. But math, to me, we lack the science, and the public, you have to be able to make it in really short statements.
Erin, what do you think about this one? What angle would you take on it?
I mean, my thoughts are very similar. I think we're always preaching to the choir, right? We're here at the Northern Miner and we're talking to miners about how great mining is. And right. And I mean, I was asked this morning, so you mentioned I have this hydrogen company, Aurora Hydrogen. We're making hydrogen from natural gas with no CO2 emissions, right? In my mind, I'm an environmentalist. This is a great story. This is a fantastic way to do this. And somebody who owns a renewable energy company asked me, well, have you got any pushback from any of the environmental NGOs? Because you're still using a fossil fuel. And yeah, we are. But you know, we use 80% less electricity than to make hydrogen from water. And so, you know, it's to your point, Rob, math. And I think we need to get out there and talk about the math and have those hard conversations, whether it's with the environmental NGOs. And you know what, they might not always be the most pleasant conversations. They're not going to be the most comfortable conversations, but we need to start having them in a respectful dialogue and just keep talking about it. Get out into the public media. Let's write opinion stories. Let's get on the news. Let's through PDAC. Why don't we have our own show that you know, lets people know what we're actually doing in mining and what are all the cool things. I think we need to stop talking amongst ourselves, stop waiting for people to come to us. We need to get out there and try to get our message across, because we are cool. We're, you know, we're making a big difference in the world, particularly around CO2 emissions and what are we going to do for electrification. But it's up to us to get out and talk to everybody outside the industry to get them excited about it in the way that we are.
And Siri, you broached this topic on the last question. Is there anything you want to circle back to, or anything you want to add on this one?
Well, I think you have two of the prettiest ladies in the mining business that you could find. So to hell, white guy. But, and there's so many more. I mean, never mind you know, that's one thing. But I mean, these conversations need to, you know, they need to be diverse of everything, background, knowledge, experience. I would talk to you about the value chain, how mining picks up, you know, everything all the way. So right now you've got issues with logistics. You've got a Port of Vancouver that's stuck. You probably know something about that. How do we fix logistics problems so that at the end of the day, things flow? It's not just mining. We all have the same problems. You know, I have a few examples, but one of them is, for example, how in the supply chain, how do you source and track different ore from all the countries that are in emerging economies that some people call dangerous or wrong, and there are many of those, but there are ways today that with electronic blockchain tags, you can actually follow the ore all the way through the logistics to safe havens and for safe use. So there are, I can think of a million stories, and but we don't tell them. And there is one I want to tell because I think it's important, and how the media takes only the bad and not the good. Very recently, Valley and Sudbury had a challenge. Their elevator cage got stuck. An accident. It happens. 35 people were stuck underground, and of course, we heard all about it. And 35 anyway. They all came out. They were all very safe. The media interviewed many of the people who were caught, and the guys were like, and the girls were like, yeah, no, it was excellent. It was well done. We were safe. We were protected. There was food, air, oxygen all the way up. It was really well, taken care of. The media covered the part about the 35 people stuck and how, again, horrible. They never talked about how good a job Valley did in making sure that every single person came out. Why do I have to tell this story? Why are we not saying that we do look after our people, we do things right, so that when we don't talk, people say you're horrible. We're not. We're no better, no worse than any of the manufacturing companies, auto assembly that have challenges that are similar. So I don't mind to be picked on, fair is fair, but I'll also fight back, and I'll be very proud and very passionate about how our industry makes a difference. And this is a great opportunity, but I'm also excited to tell you, for example, I'm going to Morocco and to Chile to have these same conversations and in non-mining forums, because they're great solutions to our future.
And that's where the message needs to be heard. And I think, actually one of the questions that came in over the Q&A kind of ties right into where we wanted to wrap for the end of the day, and the kind of the challenge that I gave all of you to think about, which is, and the question was, what can we do to change the perception, the reputation among the generation entering the talent pool? So how do we get that new talent in? And I think, we've touched on that, but how do we boil that down into what's the elevator pitch? You got 20 floors, you're going up a midtown office tower. What's your pitch for why mining is cool? Why we want to be in the industry? Erin, do you want to take this one first?
I'm going to sound like a broken record because I'm going to say exactly what I said before, and it's very short. If you want the opportunity to make a fundamentally positive impact on every life on this planet, human or not, work in mining. It's that cool.
I like that notion of, yeah, it's good. It is about having that impact, and you're kind of drawing on that theme of having a purpose behind what you do. And I think that's important to all of us. What is it that wakes you up? And it's not the 8 a.m. conference call that wakes you up. It's that sense of purpose about what you're trying to achieve with that. Rob, what about from you?
Well, in the elevator, I'd ask them, are you evaluating your options? If you're looking for a sexy career where you can travel the world, you can earn top dollars, produce materials that will help create a greener world, greener future. And if you're ambitious, you can run the whole show in your mid-30s. Then the choice is easy, it's mining.
That's a very good pitch. And I think a lot of people would love to hear that, run the whole show in your mid-30s.
Yeah, we have a demographic factor that's coming into play, that there's a large segment of the mining industry is entering retirement age over the next 10 years. There's going to be a big shortage. And so people will be pulled up through the ranks very quickly if they have talent.
Yeah, that opportunity to advance. And Siri, what's your 20 floors worth of pitch?
So I'll do a cute one and then a more serious one. Without mining, I wouldn't be in an elevator. I'd be walking up the 20 floors of stairs. So that would be the cute one. So to Rob's comment of running the world in your 30s, I'm going to say, if you really want to make a difference in your life and everybody's life, there's no career like being part of an industry that sources the minerals and the materials that you need to make that difference.
That's great. Well, thank you. And I think that's a really nice positive note to finish on. And, I think it really gives a sense of this is an aspirational place to be. If you have the technical skills and the aptitude and the sense of adventure and a desire to really be connected to a purpose, this is one of the best places to be and to advance in your career at a pace that you might not be able to in other places. Anthony, I'll kind of hand back to you at this point.
It's a tough conversation to come in on and cut off because it is such a fascinating one. It is such a critical one. We're seeing it on the comments. A lot of comments. Morton, we normally get lots of questions. We got a lot of comments really cheering you four on, just saying how great the conversation is and echoing a lot of the things. I would say with regard to my own little 2 cents here, and I'm the host, so I get to throw it in there. It's a fair charge that we often get that we're preaching to the choir, right? That we're in our own echo chamber at a Northern Miner Conference. We know all this. But I would say I think there's a real positive that comes out of this. The people that are on this call, the 150 people listening, and then the thousands that we're going to reach when we re-put this out on mining.com, Northern Miner, CMJ. Those people, yes, they're in the industry, but they also have their aunts and uncles like you, Siri, with nephews, with cousins, with friends. We're not insular in the mining industry once we leave these conferences. And if we can arm people with the great facts and the great ideas that you three panelists have just given us all, that puts people in a much more confident position to be able to articulate some of these ideas outside of this echo chamber we're in. So, Siri, to your point, maybe if your nephew was on this conference before that dinner party, maybe he would have felt a little more confident. So let's hope, I hope by doing things like this, that we're giving people the information and the confidence to go forward and to feel proud about all the great things that this industry does. So thank you all for your contributions towards that goal. Really fascinating conversation. Siri, Erin, Rob, awesome stuff. Mark, thank you so much.
Anthony. Thanks, Mark.
Welcome.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Bye,
Nice to
Siri.
see you
Bye,
all.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.